Welcome back to Yahoo Finance Live. I'm Alexis Christoforous. The pandemic has been especially painful for people working in the arts. 1 year ago today, Broadway theaters went dark, leaving thousands of actors and stage crew members out of work and with little to no options. Joining me now is Kate Shindle. She is president of the Actors Equity Association, whose labor union represents more than 51,000 professional actors and stage managers in live theater. Kate, thanks so much for being with us. I want to start with a little light at the end of the tunnel, because we know that there are some select Broadway venues that are going to allow audiences in some capacity to some shows in April. What does that mean for your industry?
I think it's huge. I mean, Actors Equity is a national union. So we represent stage managers and actors who work on stages of all sizes across the country, from storefronts all the way up to Broadway theaters. But it's hard to deny that despite the range of work we represent, Broadway is a bellwether. It was a bellwether when it shut down. And I believe that it sends a really positive sign that we are still on a long path back to normal, but normal may be coming sooner than we feared.
Talk to me about what today's stimulus bill that has now been signed into law by President Biden just moments ago, what is in that law that will now help your industry in particular? I know there's been an issue with health insurance running out for lots of people in the theater industry because now they're going on more than a year of not having worked.
Yeah, it's funny. I got a little emotional watching it, and I was just sitting here thinking, don't cry," because I was about to come on with you. There are so many pieces of this legislation that are important to our industry. If it was just the stimulus checks, if it was just the unemployment, if it was just the COBRA subsidies, or if it was just the vaccination piece, it would still be significant. But having all of those things rolled into one piece of legislation is going to be really meaningful. As you mentioned, we have an employer-based health care plan. Many of the arts and entertainment unions do. And the biggest challenge is obviously that when you're not working, you're not accumulating work weeks toward retaining your health insurance. And COBRA is so expensive, as everyone knows. So we've had a year of watching a really large percentage of our industry gradually falling off their health insurance. The idea that people will no longer have to bear that expense themselves at a time when many of us have lost not only our careers, albeit temporarily, but it's a long temporary, but also our survival jobs at restaurants and bars and all the other things that we do to make ends meet between performing jobs. The COBRA subsidy is going to be a really big deal.
We keep hearing time and time again that in order to open up the economy fully, testing is going to play a crucial role. I know that you've hired a doctor to help you guide your members and the theater community at large through the reopening process. Talk to us a little bit about what is it going to look like for us when we go back to the theater, and how are you handling this bear of an issue, which is getting everybody tested?
It's not small. I mean, we've watched our colleagues in the film and TV industry have to go through the same thing, but in many cases, those employers aren't operating at razor thin profit margins. So they can afford to do the testing and upgrading their HVAC systems so that it's safe for people to be inside the building without teetering on the brink of bankruptcy, having just come through an entire year where they had little to no income. So I think the testing is incredibly important, but so too is vaccination. We work in one of the only industries that I can think of where it's not only legal, but completely normal to go to work and kiss your colleague on the mouth as a condition of your job. And so to look like theater looked in, let's say, February of 2020 is a challenge, but vaccination is going to make a big difference.
When we do finally start to reopen theaters in a big way, commercial theaters, because it's my understanding that many of them are not opening, if at all now, with just 10% capacity, which is what Governor Cuomo has okayed for the time being. If we get to, say, 50% capacity, do you think theaters would begin to open then, or is it still going to be a lost proposition for them opening at that level?
I certainly hope that there are some ways to make that work. But, I am not an expert on that side of the business model. We have repeatedly been told that it's incredibly difficult and cost prohibitive to open at less than 100% for Broadway theaters. That said, there are theaters all over the country that can open at a lower capacity, and those are really important to us too. And when we focus on what we're going back to, we've spent a lot of time talking about not going back to the way things were, because the way things were fundamentally unjust. We need to have, we need to take care of ourselves. We need to not abide by the old adage that the show must go on no matter what, even if you're sick or injured. We need to move towards, I think the pandemic has pointed out that we need to move towards a universal federal health care plan so that people don't have to deal with these kinds of issues like falling off their health insurance. And we need to really be serious about diversity and inclusion in our industry so that everybody has a chance to participate in the live theater.
All right, Kate Shindle, president of the Actors Equity Association. We can't wait for theater to get back up and running. Best of luck to you and to your members.
Thank you. Have a good one.